Good evening and thank you for joining us. Thunder Bay Mayor Ken Boshcoff could soon join the ranks of Ontario's strong mayors. To receive the new powers, Boshcoff will have to commit to meeting provincial housing targets. Lee Noonan has been following the story. She joins us live now in the studio. Lee.
Thanks, Ryan. The mayor has until October 15th to make that commitment in writing. He'll ask for council's support at next Monday's council meeting, but he hasn't ruled out the possibility of moving ahead without council approval. Mayor Ken Boshcoff's strong mayor powers will go into effect on October 31st if he makes the provincially set pledge before the deadline, committing to build over 2,200 new residents over 8 years. He's asking for council's support in taking that step, but it's not required. He isn't saying yet whether he would still move ahead without council approval.
I would certainly appreciate council's endorsement, and if I didn't think it was necessary, I wouldn't bring it forward in the first place. But I would have to really think about that, but I'm certainly hoping that council would back me up.
Strong mayor powers include the hiring or firing of the city manager and other department heads, reorganizing city structure, directly giving instructions to city staff, and vetoing certain council decisions. Boshcoff says he doesn't expect to make frequent use of the new powers to act unilaterally or override council.
They've all been elected democratically, and that's going to continue. So I will respect their wishes as much as possible.
The new powers also make it the mayor's duty to set the budget, something that could impact the 2024 budget process, but it's not clear yet what that might look like. It's one of a number of questions left unanswered. City Clerk Krista Powers says her office has been asking for clarification from the Ministry of Municipal Affairs on a number of points of ambiguity.
We rely as clerks on other clerks across the province, rely heavily on those already in strong mayor power situations. We're tracking notices, we're tracking decisions, we're looking at templates, we're learning from our colleagues.
The mayor says his main goal in seeking the new powers is not the powers themselves so much as the provincial housing funding that is only available to strong mayor cities.
The provincial money, when they offer this, you want to be first. You don't want to be the last person there to say, is there anything left?
That funding is unlocked only for cities that actually meet their housing targets. There have been 113 new units completed in the city so far this year. Thunder Bay would need to average more than twice that, 275 new residences a year between now and 2031 to meet its target. City Manager Norm Gale says a report will be coming to council soon addressing the city's housing resources and capacity to meet those goals. Lee Noonan, TBT News.
Thunder Bay Police seized more than $500,000 worth of narcotics during a traffic stop on Tuesday morning. Officers pulled over a Jeep on West Arthur Street and the two occupants were arrested soon afterwards. A search of the vehicle revealed an estimated $660,000 worth of suspected fentanyl, cocaine, crystal meth, and oxycodone tablets. Paraphernalia consistent with drug trafficking and a loaded handgun were also found on scene. A 27-year-old Toronto man and a 24-year-old woman from Gravenhurst have been charged with a number of drug trafficking offenses. Inspector Jeremy Pearson says, while it's not the service's biggest seizure, repeatedly making drug busts of this size is concerning.
It's easy to become blasé or conditioned to seizures of this magnitude, and that's in itself frightening. There was a time within recent memory where a seizure of a kilogram of cocaine was extremely significant, and now with the work that our officers are doing, it's becoming almost commonplace. The fact that both of our accused are not resident of Thunder Bay or the Thunder Bay District is indicative of the ongoing concern we have with out-of-town drug traffickers making Thunder Bay the place where they choose to apply their trade.
The two suspects appeared in bail court yesterday and remain in custody until their next court appearance. The OPP's Professional Standards Unit has launched an internal investigation into the actions of an officer in Kenora. It stems from a video posted online which shows the officer trying to euthanize a deer using the butt end of an axe. And while we have blurred the footage, we want to warn viewers that it is disturbing. The video shows an injured deer in front of a Kenora home on September 3rd. One of the officers is seen swinging the axe at the deer's head. The axe then goes flying out of his hands. In a statement, the OPP say this is not the way officers are trained or expected to deal with this type of situation, as the Police Act allows police-issued firearms to be used to dispatch suffering animals. The video was posted online by Animal Justice, which lobbies for the humane treatment of animals. A spokesperson for the group calls the officers' actions cruel and inexcusable. The SanCan expo kicked off this morning at Fort William Gardens. It featured the return of a real crowd pleaser from last year, the drilling competition. Several recognizable local faces squared off to see who could drill deepest into solid stone. Carl Langdon has the story.
SanCan is back for its second year, hosting over 300 exhibitors related to the natural resource industry, with many local companies hosting booths at Fort William Gardens. As a lighthearted icebreaker, or maybe that's rockbreaker, to kick off the event, Manrock Developments held a drilling competition, starting with a few familiar faces. Manrock's president, Chris Sproul, spoke to us about the competition.
It's good for everybody to come out, give the drill a try, and we've got an expert up there with them in case things get out of control. But no, it's good to see people trying it and seeing what it's like. You see how hard it is to actually run. It's pretty good.
One of those familiar faces was the mayor of Shunya, Wendy Landry, who didn't even break a sweat.
You know what, I was a little nervous at first, but actually it was pretty good. It's a little tight on the forearms. I can't imagine the guys that do it for a 12-hour day, but it was a cool experience.
Not long after, the chief of Fort William First Nation, Michelle Solomon, stepped up to the drill. A natural in her own right, Solomon matched Landry's performance, taking to the heavy machinery with ease.
It was really exhilarating, actually, and it really gives you another kind of perspective of what production miners do for a whole shift. I was really trying to win. I mean, hey, you don't enter things to lose, so I gave it my hardest to see what would happen.
Sproul says he was grateful for the opportunity to meet members of the public and prospective employees through the SanCan event.
Yeah, anybody we can bring on board. Manpower is at the utmost right now, so it's good to be here and it's great to meet everybody.
This is really awesome. You know, the Noma district as a whole, you know, our communities, mining's our future right now, so, and forestry as well, so hopefully that'll, this whole kind of an expo will pick up. And I saw some mayors walking around here today, so hopefully it'll draw some attention to some of our smaller communities.
SanCan continues all day Thursday at Fort William Gardens. Carl Langdon, TBT News.
The Thunder Bay Police Services Board has another new member. Earlier this week, City Councillor Casey Atraney joined as a city appointee, replacing Shelby Chung. Now the board has announced a new provincial member. Wayne Belita is no stranger to the position. He previously served on the police board from 2003 to 2010 and was also a committee member for the Ontario Police Arbitration Commission. Belita will serve a one-year term. Thunder Bay's newest hotel is planned for Oliver Road between the Thunder Bay Expressway and golf links. Crews from Bruno's Contracting have been clearing vacant land at the corner of Oliver and Burwood Roads. The city's Building Services Office has received a permit application from Manitoba-based Genesis Hospitality for a 6-story, 129-unit hotel. The company didn't respond to requests for details about the construction timeline. Genesis previously operated the Victoria Inn before selling it earlier this year. City officials say the estimated price tag for the hotel is just under $32 million. Concerns about climate change are coming from Queen's Park today, sparked by a recent report. The opposition is accusing the provincial government of neglect, not only for not doing enough to address climate change, but for, they say, burying the report that should have been made public months ago. Siobhan Morris explains.
A government-commissioned report paints a dire picture of life in Ontario in the face of climate change.
They've said to us, we have a very difficult road ahead as the world gets hotter.
The report by the Climate Risk Institute acknowledges the government is adjusting, but says accelerated action is needed.
The Conservatives' deliberate neglect puts everyone at risk. It means higher costs, higher insurance bills, higher energy rates.
Ontarians may be paying more to keep cool by the end of the century. The number of days above 30 degrees is expected to hit 60 a year. Right now, we see about 18.
The incidence of substantial wildfire in Ontario is going to go up 2.5 to 5 times. We had a really bad summer this year. we can expect far worse summers in the future.
There's also concern about hits to business, agriculture, and human life with wilder weather.
Risk from heavy rainfall and floods. There are going to be substantial problems in terms of the price of food because it's going to be harder to produce food in this province.
The opposition says it wants a real action plan from the government to adapt existing systems and reduce emissions. But they say progressive Conservatives buried this report, finished in January, then quietly posted online a few weeks ago.
I think they just want this to go away. They want it to be ignored. They don't want people to think about it. They don't want it to be a public issue.
Siobhan Morris, CTV News.
A former member of parliament for this region has passed away. Stan Dromiski served 11 years as the MP for Thunder Bay-Atikokan. Dromiski first ran for the Liberals in the 1988 federal election, but lost to the NDP's Ian Angus. 5 years later, he defeated Angus to take the seat and then won 2 more elections in 1997 and 2000, serving as a backbencher in Prime Minister Jean Chrétien's government. Dromiski retired from politics in 2004, giving way to Ken Boshcoff as the Liberal MP for the riding. Boshcoff says Dromiski was a valuable mentor during his first years serving in Ottawa.
Dr. Dromiski was instrumental in my first success as a member of parliament, so he was always a good coach and available to talk, and certainly knew his way around parliament and was well regarded there. So for me, he was a significant community player. He served his country and his riding extremely well, and he will long be fondly remembered.
The last time we saw Dromiski at a public event was in 2017 when he and his wife Peggy donated a painting from his former Ottawa office to the new Matawa Education Centre. Stan Dromiski was 92 years old. It's a very busy time for the Port of Thunder Bay. As many residents have likely noticed, there's been a lot of vessels in the local harbour in recent weeks, and the latest cargo statistics show strong numbers. Jonathan Wilson reports.
August was another strong month for the Port of Thunder Bay, with over 600,000 metric tons of grain loaded. That's about 20% higher than in August of 2022. There was also a whopping 255,000 tons of potash loaded, and a total cargo of 912,000 tons. Port Director Chris Heikkinen says they actually had more foreign vessels loading or unloading compared to Great Lakes vessels, which he says is rare for Thunder Bay.
So grain has come back to within about 5% of the normal. It's up 1 million tons this year over last year when we were feeling the effects of a poor crop. And the potash, which was a modern record-setting volumes last year, we're nearing those volumes again on the potash side this year. So it's things are doing well.
Every vessel brings with it a lot of business for the local workforce at the port, and Heikkinen says shipping is a great economic driver for Thunder Bay. The busy times for the port have been evident to anyone looking out onto the local waterfront in recent weeks.
This year, it is particularly noteworthy the number of ships that are sitting out there. The last week or so, we've had at any given time upwards of 15 vessels in the harbor, either at anchor or berthed for loading and discharge operations. It can be complex to schedule all these vessels to hit the port and to get their shipments into port. So some of them are waiting for a berth that is currently occupied, while others may have arrived ahead of schedule or just ahead of the cargo that they're going to be taking on.
For the year to date, the port has handled around 3.7 million tons of grain and nearly 5 million tons of total cargo. That's 25% higher than at this point last year, with 50 more vessels than in 2022. Heikkinen says they expect the busy shipping season to continue for the rest of the year.
I think we're looking at strong numbers this fall as well. The grain production is obviously better than it had been. There were some drought issues on the western half of the prairies, so that could have somewhat of a dampening effect, but it won't drastically affect the grain levels.
Jonathan Wilson, TBT News.